Chapter: Cat Walk. After an hour in the hot tub, I finally felt human again, or close enough to imitate it. The heat had worked itself deep into my muscles, pulling tension out slowly like wire being removed from concrete. My skin carried a soft red tone beneath the mirrored lights, steam still drifting around the room in thin controlled ribbons before the ventilation system swallowed it whole. I leaned back and closed my eyes for a moment. Just one moment. That's when I heard it, a soft mechanical chirp, then another. I opened my eyes. The worm had detached itself from my waist. It stood upright near the mirrored wall, its segmented body balancing with impossible precision, while green LEDs pulsed softly beneath the black titanium plating. It was staring at itself, or maybe at the endless reflections of itself stretching through the room. The mirrors multiplied the machine infinitely, thousands of worms staring back from every angle, each one glowing faint green in the sterile light. The real one tilted its head slightly. Curious. Learning. I watched it for a second longer. "You narcissistic little bastard," I muttered. The worm answered with a soft sequence of beeps and rotating clicks before lowering itself back toward the floor. Happy. At least that's what it looked like. I pushed myself out of the tub. Water rolled down my chest and onto the polished concrete in clean streams before disappearing into the floor drains. The room temperature adjusted instantly, warm air circulating through hidden vents to keep the mirrors from fogging. I grabbed a towel and dried off slowly while my reflection repeated the motion forever around me. The worm followed behind me the entire time. Quiet little servo noises. Soft green light. Watching everything I did like it was taking notes. I stepped toward the cabinet built into the mirrored wall and pressed my thumb against the lock sensor. Click. The compartment opened. Inside sat my grooming kit arranged with surgical precision. Razors, brushes, oils, small glass bottles, steel tools polished clean enough to reflect light. I ran the clippers over my scalp first. Smooth, clean, no stubble left behind, just skin catching the white overhead light. Then the goatee, long, black-threaded with grey. I lined it carefully along the jaw, sharpening the edges until my reflection looked less tired and more dangerous. The kind of face people listened to before they realized they were scared of it. The worm watched the entire process from the counter, still, attentive, like it was cataloguing me. I brushed my teeth next, mint and antiseptic flooding my mouth, while old pipes hummed quietly somewhere behind the walls. Then I reached for the small glass bottle sitting near the sink. Tea tree oil. Today's fragrance. Sharp, earthy. Clean in a way the world outside wasn't anymore. I rubbed a small amount along my neck and beard, the scent cutting through the lingering smell of machine oil and steam. Better. The broadcast upstairs was still faintly audible through the silo speakers, corporate voices discussing population transfers, kinetic border reinforcement, synthetic compliance failures. The world pretending it still had shape. I grabbed my echo glasses from the counter and slid them back over my eyes. The interface synced immediately. Soft blue data rolled across the lenses. Environment linked. Silo status, stable. Worm link, active. I turned toward the upper-level access corridor. The worm followed behind me instantly. Its segmented body moved smoother now, more confident. Small beeps echoed behind me while green LEDs pulsed happily beneath its armor plating. It almost looked excited to be moving. The deeper halls of the silo lit automatically as we walked, overhead strips flickering alive one after another in front of us. Metal, concrete, soft humming electricity, me in front, the worm behind. Before I even reached the upper floor, my echo glasses chimed sharply against my ear. Incoming voice relay. "Ilara," I sighed immediately. 3 calls in 5 hours, I asked as the connection opened. Static cracked once. Then her voice pushed through the line. "Rob, I need you here by 5. Straight to business. No greeting, no concern about whether I was alive, just pressure. I kept walking through the corridor while the worm followed behind me, green LEDs pulsing softly against the concrete walls. "I just made it home," I said. "I've got things to settle here." The silo door ahead unlocked with a hydraulic hiss. "I got cows to tend to, locals to check on, supplies to sort." She exhaled sharply through the comm, the kind of exhale people make when they're already overwhelmed before the conversation starts. "You think I'm calling because things are stable?" she snapped. I could hear noise behind her, metal movement, voices. somebody yelling. A distant alarm cutting in and out. "They're overrunning intake again," she continued. "Half the eastern transports came in contaminated, the clone screenings are failing, and one of the smugglers dumped 3 unregistered kids outside the south gate this morning." I stayed quiet, let her burn through it. "That doesn't even include the synth riot on level 2. The worm chirped beside me. I rubbed my temples slowly. "Alara." "What?" "You're ranting." Silence. Then another long exhale. The anger drained out of her voice little by little, replaced by exhaustion. "Yeah," she admitted quietly. I stepped onto the upper level of the silo. Warm desert light pushed through the outer hatch seams, painting thin gold lines across the concrete floor. "I'll get there," I said, "just not immediately." Another pause. Then finally, "Fine," I could picture her rubbing her forehead on the other end of the line. "But don't disappear on me again, Rob." The connection crackled softly. "I mean it." The call ended. The silo fell quiet again, except for the low hum of machinery and the soft mechanical buzzing of the worm circling near my boots. I looked toward the upper hatch, toward the desert, toward the rest of the day waiting outside. "Yeah," I muttered. "Same shit." I grabbed my all-black lab coat from the back of the chair in the living room. The material was heavy but breathable, reinforced along the seams with faded conductive threading from older medical-grade fabrication. Years of repairs had changed its texture. Some sections were smoother than others, where I'd stitched in salvaged fibers by hand. Still functional. Still mine. I slid it on while the silo hummed softly around me. The upper level carried a completely different atmosphere from the lower floors. Less sterile, more lived in. Coffee stains on old tables. Tools left exactly where I remembered putting them. Stacks of papers mixed beside cracked data tablets. A shotgun leaning near the wall beside hanging cables and half-repaired circuitry. The place looked less like a home and more like survival that had settled down long enough to decorate itself. Petals was currently attempting to breach one of the lower cabinets near the water faucet, or trying to. The worm had positioned itself directly behind her. Green LEDs glowing, tiny electronic chirps clicking through the room. Petals froze every time it moved. Then bolted sideways in panic whenever the worm slithered forward another inch. The machine wasn't attacking her. It almost looked like it was playing. Petals clearly disagreed. She sprinted across the room for dear life, claws scraping against concrete, while the worm zipped after her in excited little bursts before abruptly stopping near the couch. A series of cheerful beeps echoed out from its chassis. I stared at it. "You're enjoying this way too much." The worm's green lights brightened. Somewhere outside, I heard Gizmo yowling in the distance, probably murdering lizards behind the silo again. That cat treated the desert like a personal war zone. Larry, meanwhile, had apparently already accepted the worm into the household hierarchy. He was stretched out near the doorway beside it, completely unbothered, fat stomach exposed, while the machine occasionally nudged him with curious little taps. Larry barely reacted. Traitor. I walked over toward the counter and picked up my dented metal cup from earlier. The coffee inside had gone cold hours ago. Still drank it. The bitterness sat heavy on my tongue while warm desert light spilled through the narrow viewing slits carved into the silo walls. Outside was all dust, heat, and old silence. Inside was me. 3 cats. 1 highly questionable machine intelligence, and whatever the hell the rest of the day planned on becoming. I rubbed my jaw slowly. "Okay," I said aloud. "I'll video call Ren now."